Hi, and welcome to today's episode of Constructive Conversations. The intention of this podcast is to explore the So on the show today with John, we're going to talk about developing visionary skills, a partnership between visionary, integrator, solving your clients' pain points. We get into renovating houses and what that looks like in the UK, in Canada. We talk about books, mindset, spirituality, how that ties into the business, and lots more. This is a great episode. You're going to want to check it out, listen right to the end. And John has a free tool in here that he's offered to all the listeners. So check that out in the show notes. Visionaries turn their dreams into reality using technology. So thanks so much for coming on today, John.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks, Nick. I'm really looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, great to have you. So let's get right into it. Tell me a little bit about your company and what you do.
Okay, yeah. So where do we start here? Like you say, similar to your intro, actually, we started about, I wanted to build my business about 10 years ago. And so in the last 4 or 5 years, it's since COVID, actually, it's really started to take off. And we help businesses scale and grow using technology, because my background is IT and technology projects, particularly around enterprise. But it all started, I think, back when I was a teenager. I'm a bit of a nerd, a bit of a geek. I love technical things. I love the radio controlled cars when I was growing up, the Tamiya Fox and Bigwig. And if anyone had those kit cars, that was awesome. And I love Lego Technics, and then got into computers, the Commodore 64 and the Spectrums. And then I realized that I love the way that we can use computers to create magic. Really, you think about it, we're programming, we're instructing machine to do something for us, and that still fascinates me today. And that's why I love applying this to help my business, and then my learnings I like sharing to help other businesses as well.
Great. Yeah, and that's definitely, I think, very needed, right? Helping businesses implement technology. And to take you back to the beginning, so you had a lot of the experience in IT, in the corporate world. What was it like when you took the leap and said, okay, I'm going to start my own business? What did that look like?
Yeah, that was a big turning point in our lives, actually. So we were in the UK. I grew up in London, North London, Spurs supporter for anyone who's out there in the football world. And we had my first job, actually, which was a dream job for a financial services company. I was an employee. We had the house. I had my girlfriend. I then married. So I thought that was it. We've made it. We've got our, house in the suburbs, a job to work, and a career. But it didn't feel enough. It was always a bit behind. So we actually started renovating houses. That's how we got into real estate, which we can talk a bit more later. But the other thing was, one thing was the real estate. The other thing was my wife, unfortunately at the time, got a cough. It wouldn't go away. Went to the doctors, and she was diagnosed with cancer back in the year 2000. So that was a real eye opener for us. She's a survivor. She got through it. She actually got through cancer twice. She had it again in 2013. Yeah, so she's a trooper. But the first time was a real eye opener for us. We were very much, okay, life's too short. We need to make a move. We need to do something different. And we also had the idea of moving to another country to live and work. Let's try something new. Let's shake things up. So that's when I joined Ernst & Young. And then from there, got the offer to go over to Canada. So we arrived in Toronto in 2005. I was still with Ernst & Young and really enjoying the technology consulting with big Fortune 500s. Then moved to Calgary. We were actually on our way to Vancouver, but didn't quite make it, and landed in Calgary, which has been awesome. Then with Ernst & Young had a job offer I couldn't turn down, actually, with Deloitte. So I was working with those folks for a few years, working with even bigger Fortune 500 companies across North America. In the back of our mind, though, we always wanted to help smaller companies, medium-sized companies implement decisions faster and do it for ourselves. And so we actually set up the company in the late 2019, 2018. So when we really got going, and yeah, haven't looked back since.
When you say we, are you working with your wife in the
Yes,
business?
yeah, and my team now. So yeah, so my wife does. She's a visionary. That's partly what inspired me because, like I said, I'm a bit of a nerd, a geek, and if anyone's done the traction and some of the scaling books, scale up books, there's the integrator and the visionary, and so that's why I created my company. We Deliver Your Vision, because I'm very much an integrator, a deliverer, technical background. However, I know to grow my business and to help other people grow your business, you need a vision, you need a North Star, something to work towards. That's what got us to Canada. It got us to set up our company. And now I want to share that more with other people and entrepreneurs and business owners to help them deliver their vision. And I'm always taking advice and guidance from my wife because she's a visionary. She's awesome in the big picture. And together we work really well on my business. So she does a lot of the marketing, the goal setting, and I work through in terms of the visionary and build that out for our company.
Yeah, you make it happen. That's great. That's a great pairing to have those two in in a marriage.
Yes, for sure. And I'm learning a lot as well. So I'm learning my visionary skills more, and I've developed that over the years. And we can talk about this in more detail actually, because I love the fact that as an entrepreneur, business owner, you have to have many hats, many different roles. So you can't just be an integrator or a technician, which is where typically most people start. You need a visionary skill as well to know where you're going, not just for your clients, but also for your business. And so you're either learning that skill or you're bringing that skill into your company.
And is this part of something you teach your customers, companies that you work with? Can you describe sort of the typical company you work with and what that looks like, the service that you're providing for them?
Yeah, for sure. So I work with a range of companies, actually, a couple of large scale enterprise, energy, oil and gas companies, and then also some smaller education firms, healthcare companies, and some financial services firms. So I tend to work in the medium to large enterprise space. That's where we get the most results. And the calls we usually get are around, we don't have the right data to make a decision around cash flow reporting or inventory management, or our technology is slowing us down. Or the other one is around, we've just bought a company and we need to integrate the systems into our existing systems and we've got duplication, too much cost. So in terms of the vision, to your point, okay, what's the goal here? It always starts with that why, that goal, that reason and North Star, because we need to work towards something. And what I find over and over again, and this is where I think this works in any industry, in any trade, is the problem is not the problem. The problem we're typically called in for is one thing, but when you start working with the client, understanding a bit more, the real problem's several layers deep. And then we can find out if we're a good fit to help, or maybe we can find someone else to help them if it's a more specialist, a different skill that we don't currently provide. But more often than not, our team is there to help them through that change.
That's very interesting. So you get called in for the symptoms of whatever's going on, but then you're like a doctor. You're going in and you're saying, no, there's actually a deeper underlying cause. So you uncover that.
Yes. I think it's human nature. Actually, I think as humans, we often see what's in front of us. I do a lot of work with coaches. I have coaches. I offer coaching and I provide coaching to people as well. And my own recognition of my journey, we're either moving away from a pain point or towards pleasure. That's just human nature. So we're either getting away from a bad situation or we're going to somewhere better. And what I find is with my clients is they're typically experiencing a pain point. It's a problem they need to solve. So for example, I was working with a manufacturing client and they called me in to say, hey, we need a better way we need a customer management system, a CRM, to give better customer services, because the problem is our customers are complaining. They're complaining of short shipping, wrong products, damaged products when they arrive on the drop-off. We got into that. I said, oh, sure, we can help. Let's dig into that. As we got into it, what we realized is as we go through each of the departments, understanding what's going on, what was actually happening is the sales team was selling products that weren't in stock. So they were selling products, and then the inventory and the manufacturing team were spending a lot of time trying to get the products or didn't have them. And that delayed shipping. And sometimes even they short shipped, they send part orders out. So the actual problem wasn't customers getting bad service or getting bad products. It was actually because they were selling products they didn't have, which caused delays. So all we did we didn't need a CRM in the end, although we're working on that next. The biggest solution, the quickest solution, was just an inventory report to the sales team. Say, these are the products in stock. If it's not in stock, just give a heads up to the clients that it will take longer to deliver. And that reduced the the complaints by 56%. It was an overnight turnaround of customer complaints. So like I said, the problem is not the problem around customer service. It's sometimes something very simple, like just a daily sales report.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That
yeah, and you must see it in your industry.
actual...
I guess you must see that in you as well when you're dealing with your custom cabinetry and clients. They're often asking for something, but when you start working with them, it actually turns out to be maybe something different. Do you see that?
Yeah, and especially in that case, people they have a vague idea of what they want, or what they don't even know the options that are available, right?
Right.
But yeah, there's so much potential that you can do. Yeah, when it comes to a residential home, there's a lot you can do that people who aren't in the industry aren't aware of. But you mentioned you also got into some real estate. Can you talk about what you've done with real estate?
Yeah, for sure. So again, love technology, always have. And to your point around helping the vision, it's enabling technology to scale businesses, but it's often a people and process as much as anything. You need to have your team behind it and the process to support it. And then, so loving that technology, got into the real estate side. My wife loves real estate. I do too. We have a number of rental properties. We've done a couple of house builds. We're about to start a new one, our next big house build project. Well, two actually. It's a multi-unit and a single family home. And what I love about real estate is you're creating something real. I love IT. I love technology because it's, like I said before, you're programming magic to systems, but it's often not physical. It's often numbers, words, documents, information, which is in empowering and igniting action. But houses are physical. You can go up and touch it, see it, walk through it. And I love that. So yeah, so over the years, we've had a lot of rental properties, always managed the properties ourselves, find that works really well. And yeah, in the last few years, got into the house builds as well, mainly for us, keeping it small scale, but just about to get into our next big multi-unit build.
That's great. And were you doing that in the UK as well as in Canada?
Yes, yeah, we were. That's where we got the bug. And for anyone who's renovated houses in the UK, it's very different from North America. And I love the opportunity in North America because you typically start from a clean slate and you have the space to be able to build out and create rooms. For anyone who's lived and renovated in the UK, you're very constrained. So the houses, typically you don't knock houses down, you renovate them because space is limited and the houses are much smaller. So you have to be very creative with the space. So one of the learnings we had here is how do we be more creative with smaller powder rooms, bathrooms, because we've put powder rooms under stairs. We've added loft conversions because you typically don't have you can't expand the walls. You can do some extensions. Plus there's a lot of regulations around the listed buildings. Some of these buildings are our first renovation. The house was built in 1880. So and it's still standing, still solid, but because it was listed, so it's listed by the local council because it was part of the big row houses that were a special. You can't change the window design. You can't change the walls. You can't extend out the front. You can't even, to the point where there was even certain colors you could paint your front door. It was all over the UK. You have these type of restrictions. That helps you be creative. And that's what we learned starting in the UK.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting that there you have all these constraints.
Yeah.
You come to Canada and sort of those constraints go away, but you already learned, I'm sure you have lots of creativity came out of that
yes.
that you can bring to Canada where, it's just a blank slate. And a lot of people just say, oh, let's just have square footage and build a big box. And they don't, operating without the constraints doesn't bring out the creative element.
Yeah, and it's really thinking it through. And I apply this in my business projects as well as our own life. I love use cases and user stories, and it doesn't translate. That's from the technology world for understanding how a system's going to work, like walk through the process, a day in the life of a journey of someone in a business environment using a system, serving customers, providing products. So in the housing world, that's why I love the virtual reality and the digital plans, because you can walk through the house, you can imagine yourself entering the kitchen and making the coffee and then entertaining guests and then walking upstairs into the rooms. Those use cases and those day in the life scenarios really help with the design, because then you're creating a livable space. It's not just an amazing looking house that isn't practical. You're creating something that has day-to-day functionality that doesn't annoy you. So you can, little things like you have a appliance garage that's near to the sink so you can fill up your coffee maker and little things like that.
Yeah, I really appreciate those little details too, the little efficiencies, right? And they make a difference in people's days for sure. Yeah. Are you implementing a lot of that in your upcoming build?
Oh yeah, for sure. My wife spent a long time getting this right because we've had to be very specific. This is going to be a tear down on our current plot. So we're going to completely. We were starting out with a renovation, then we said, okay, it's too difficult. It doesn't quite work. So we'll just tear it down, start fresh. And we spent a long time. She has spent a long time coming up with a really good design, and now we're there. And so now we're just going through material selections, ready to start build. Fingers crossed later this year.
That's great. That's exciting. And what was your first step into real estate? What was like the impetus to get started? Did you have any background? Did you have any like mentors or someone who helped you?
No, and I wish I'd done sooner actually. So we started like I said, in the UK, and the UK is very big on renovation flips. It's a massive industry. So there's lots of, like there are here, the HGTV. There's lots of TV shows around getting money back or improving your home from renovations and flips. So we did a number of that in the UK. I love the idea of creating a space that you live in. So when we bought our house that was built in the 1880s, it was 1880s house. It still had its gas-fired hot water heating off a big steel or iron stove with a coal shed. So it was very, very old. And so the whole thing needed updating, which was awesome because we could really bring our own design and choices to the house to make it our own. So I love that, making it your own. And then you're also making something amazing, which you can then sell to other or pass on to other people. So yes, that's where we started. And then we got into Canada. We got into more wholesaling. Started with the RAIN network, the real estate investment network. They were great from a mentoring point of view. And then just talking to other people, talking to builders. It's amazing how much advice and guidance is out there. You just need to ask. It's really is reaching out. I love this quote by Dan Sullivan, who's a Canadian coach, who says, "Who, not how." So I don't do the renovations anymore. I don't do the hands-on because it's just something I like to be involved in, but I like to get help with other people so I can do more, scale it. And so finding the who, not the how myself has been an invaluable piece of advice.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. And that's a great book, right? By the same title, Who, Not How.
Yes. Yeah. Recommended.
Yeah, definitely. But yes, staying at that high level so you can manage what's going on, and rather than, if you're swinging a hammer, you can't have a view of the whole job and make sure that things are getting driven forward. So yeah.
And it's a good point, because that whole working with trucks. I know in your previous podcast, you come up with, how contractors can work with customers and how customers can better work with contractors. And there's a whole avenue of things we could talk through there. But one of the things I've learned from my IT background and business background, entrepreneurship background, and also the trades, construction, real estate, is around that definition of done, being very clear on what the end result is, because we often make assumptions. So if it's paint those, do the interior painting with this color, that's usually fairly straightforward. But when it comes to the details, okay, does that include the trim? Does that include every room? Is every room going to be the same color? Do you have accent walls? So you have to get very, very specific around the definition of done for the trade, so they know exactly what to do, and you know what you're getting, and then everyone's happy with the price because it's clarity. And I find that definition of done needs to applies everywhere, as well as business, especially around technology, because there's so many options with technology and upgrades and implementations. You have to be very, very clear on what the end result will be.
Yeah, definitely. So setting the expectations and not making assumptions. That I've learned that in my business as well.
Yes.
Never make assumptions. Where did that lesson come from, or where did that show up for you?
Yeah, and the great way to break that down actually as well is when you're creating that definition done, is you create the 3 Fs. So the facts, the feelings, and the functionality. So what are the facts? As in, it needs to be painted by this date, these walls, this color. So that's facts. The functionality is, what does it enable me to do? So it's enabling me to sell the house. It means the next stage, like the carpeting, flooring, can go in afterwards. It enables something to happen next. And then the feelings are, I feel good about the color because we've worked through, selected the right color selections. And I feel good about the house because it's painted to what we wanted to. The contract, the painter feels good because he's done a really awesome job. And it sounds a bit formal when you go through the facts, the feelings, of the functionality, but even just having conversations around those three areas, helps you deal with it gets rid of any assumptions.
Yeah, that's great. I was writing that down here. That even just having a framework to have that conversation, and then everything's covered and that's clear between say it's you and the contractor. Very good advice.
Yeah.
One question: did you or your wife have entrepreneurial parents? Where did the sort of the spirit and this adventure and taking the risks? Do you have an idea where that came from?
I mean, I got it from my wife. I mean, I got some from my parents, but we had very different backgrounds. So I grew up with a very loving, growing childhood. We had everything we needed for. My dad was an employee of the in the government, so he worked for the Ministry of Defence in the UK. And my mum was a nurse, and gave me everything I needed. I mean, there was an awesome upbringing, childhood, got to university, education. So that was awesome from a grounding in the business and an ethic of work, and that was really good. And then Beck's parents were entrepreneurs. Her dad owned a cafe and a restaurant, and ultimately built up a restaurant industry there. And so him and her always had that very entrepreneurial mindset. He also had a skeet shoot, clay pigeon shoot in the UK. So he's always finding deals and working things through with the lads. And I was always amazed at how well he would get jobs done for cash money, as he would say at those days. And he passed away actually a couple of years ago, God bless him. But I learned a lot from him as well. And then my wife and I, her visionary, my integration, my delivery, it's them gone from there, and haven't looked back since.
Okay, great. And can you talk about what's one of the biggest obstacles that you've overcome in your business, right? Since 2018, you mentioned, what was one of the biggest hurdles, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, great question, because I see this a lot with my clients, and I recognized it myself in my own business and how we've grown as well. And it boils down to a statement actually by one of our coaches, Dan Martell. It's not about what's new, it's what's true. And I realized that statement actually applies to what I've been doing with my business over the last few years to really scale it up and also apply it to my clients. Because typically, especially in technology, we're often looking for the upgrade, the new system, the solution to fix our problems. And what we need to realize, it's not about what's new, it's what's true. So where is that problem coming from? What's the real reason? And that's where I said earlier on around the problem is not the problem. You really need to dig into that. And then for my own business, again, it's not about, okay, if it's not growing. So several years back, it wasn't growing to where I wanted it to. So I was looking at new products, new services, trying to go into new industries. And it wasn't about what's new, so new products, new services, new solutions. It was about what's true, which is I hadn't really set up the process internally to give a really good streamlined service. Once I did that, it really boosted my business. So in summary, the first thing I'd recommend with anyone is take stock of where you are. And it's a great way to understand your current state, and really, and if you can't do it, have a friend or a colleague or external pair of eyes. Look at your current business, your current situation, and just ask you some honest questions around what's stopping you right now, what's not working as well. If you could fix one thing, what would it be? And we actually then developed that principle into a technology growth accelerator which is a free online assessment, and we can drop the link in the chat, which just helps people understand where they are current state in terms of their business growth from a technology point of view. But it gives some specific recommendations that they can take away, and it's completely free. Only takes a couple of minutes, but we can share that link in the chat as well, because that really helped with understanding the current state.
Yeah, that's great. We can put that in the show notes for sure. But that's definitely what we get from our mutual coach Dan Martell. But instead of trying to branch out, doubling down and focusing on your core service, and is that at 95%? And get it to 95%, 100% if it's not. I have a coach who said in his MBA class, the teacher told him, you have to squeeze all the juice out of the lemon, if that's your business, which I think of that often.
Okay, so that's before you go to the new lemon, you're squeezing everything out of the current lemon.
Get all the value you can, maximize that opportunity.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's good actually. That applies actually, because again, we want to. It's human nature. It's almost the shiny object syndrome. I talk about this a lot about in my digital transformation assessment as well, because if everyone's jumping to new technologies, you do need to upgrade technology to stay current and make sure your system's not slowing you down. But if you do it too fast, you waste money. You don't get the full return on investment from any technology you buy, and then you buy another one and then buy another one. And it really is a combination of investing in technology, but also implementing it well and making sure that your team and your business primarily are getting the full value from that technology.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a chapter in my book, is use the tools you already have.
Right? Oh, I love that.
Yeah, most people, you can do the work with the tools you have, and if you just got better using that tool, you don't have to go out and get a new one. Just get better. It's like Jim Rohn, wish you were better, not that it was easier.
Yes. Start with what you have.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So you gave the obstacle and how you overcame that, and now you've implemented that into your teaching. What about what's one of the greatest successes or sort of payoffs that you see from your business and what you do now? What does that look like?
The greatest success would be it's interesting actually. I'm going to answer that a couple of ways. So the first thing is around the recognizing what you've achieved, and that might be more than you wanted to or less than you wanted to, but it's recognizing your progress. And that's so important, because even it doesn't really matter if you're an employee, a contractor, self-employed entrepreneur, or empire builder. We every day we're fighting the good fight. We want to move forward, progress, grow, build. And some days are better than others. Some days we see real success and we don't. But it's just what I learn is seeing progress every day, even if it's just the small wins about having a good client meeting or maybe winning a massive deal. It could be as small as just being grateful for the house and the country we live in. So the big success there is me understanding that we need to recognize our wins as we go. But then to point around my business, the biggest success I had is seeing things as puzzles to solve, not just providing solutions to people. It's how do we help them solve their problems, not going with a solution and the product straight away. And you have to. I'm just looking after two puppies today, and you might hear them in the background. So, hey, Gala.
Yeah, some more podcast guests.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're my co-workers. Yeah, I have a German. We do a lot of dog agility, so we have a border collie. And we actually have two border collies now. We rescued one just a few weeks ago. And then we have a German Shepherd. And they're a lot of fun. They get us really active and, really enjoy it.
That's great. But, I really like what you said about tracking your progress, seeing, and that also, it's in another Dan Sullivan book, right? Yeah, looking backwards and seeing how far you've come. Because otherwise, especially as entrepreneurs or, like your wife, the visionary, will always look out to the horizon, which you never get any closer to. And if your focus is there, then you don't see that progress, and you have nothing to be excited about or be happy with.
And what I really struggle with at the beginning of my career as well is setting a goal and then not meeting it and getting frustrated. And what I realized is the goal can change. You can give yourself permission to work towards a goal, and then as you get there, it starts to shift, it starts to change, and maybe it's not the right goal when you get further along the journey, but you must have a goal. You must have something to work towards and must have something to be excited about. And that excitement can manifest in a number of different ways. Sometimes it's just doing the job. Early in my career, it was just doing the work. But now it's around really visioning and embracing the feeling of having achieved that goal, because that helps drive you forward to, and also gives you more different ways of doing it. It's not just about putting in the hours every day. It's about how can I deliver value and results.
Yeah. And that was the other thing you said, was helping your clients solve their puzzle rather than just having, a solution. Here you go. Here's a solution.
Yes.
We'll collect our check. So, it's a process that you go through, and that brings you satisfaction, right? Of saying, we started with the problem and then.
And I do think that's been a huge shift in the industry over the last 5-10 years, is that the 10-15 years ago, it used to be build it and they will come. If you have something amazing, people are going to go to it and buy it. Whereas now, people, there's an interesting statistic the other day I read around that people spend at least 4 or 5 hours, if not longer, doing research on the product. So when they come to someone for a solution, they already know pretty much what they want. They're just choosing if you're going to provide it or not. So the whole previously 10, 15 years ago, the salespeople were the experts because they knew most about the product, because you couldn't find information on it. Now it's so easy to find detailed information about pretty much everything. Now it's a choice about who I work with, not what I buy, because I know what I'm going to buy. It's, do I like you enough to then work with you? So now so in our business, it's all around building those relationships, offering value, and building up the trust to then earn their business.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it was shifted from just having the product to an informed customer.
Yeah.
And since they have the information, then you need to develop that relationship, build up the trust so that they want to work with you.
Yes, exactly. Because they have the power. I mean, our customers are coming to us with sometimes way more knowledge about a specific niche of a product that they're looking for than we do. Our job is not so much the product, is more helping them get it implemented in the right way. We're not selling a technology solution. We're selling an end result for their clients or their internal customers.
What does that look like then? Sort of like and this might be more of a question for your wife, but in the marketing and the language that you use, and when you say, how do you communicate that to a new customer and say, we can provide the solution. We don't know what your problem is, but we know that we can help you arrive at this solution of what you need. So how do you communicate that?
So yeah, it's a great question, because I've learned a lot around focusing on them. And I know that sounds obvious when you focus on the customer rather than yourself, but it is truly the case, because more often than not, a customer will come to us and say, I need I need a new CRM. I need to upgrade my enterprise resource planning. I need a dashboard with these specific points. And we can do that. There are many companies that can do that. But what happens is you end up getting into a bit of a transactional relationship whereby your time is for a specific output. And typically there's a time-based engagement. Whereas if you say, okay, well, absolutely, we can do that, but help me understand why you need it. What are you going to do with that dashboard? Why do you need the upgrade? What's happening with the financial systems? And then when you realize that people are frustrated with the system because there's too much manual entry, there's lots of rekeying of data, and they're getting burnt out because it takes so long, and then they're leaving. You can't attract people because they don't like the idea of working with old technology. They have a people management turnover problem, which happens to be one of them is the system. So not only do they have to have good systems, they also need to attract good people, and then more importantly, need to retain good people. So to your point around, it's all around, okay, how do we create that vision of the end result, whether it's our team helping with everything or just one part of it? It's all about creating that picture, that future state, because that's what gets a true collaborative partnership with delivering a service or product.
And it sounds like you're really listening deeply to the issue and asking the deeper questions, not just taking them at their word. And is that a conversation that you have, with higher level management, or, do you come in and you go down to the shop floor and say, okay, where's the real issues? Like in that example you gave, where they asked for a CRM, the actual problem was, in the sales at the beginning of the customer experience. Did you end up, talking with the sales team or the sales management?
Oh, always. Yeah, or every time. I mean, I always push back on if we are only talking to okay, so just to back up a bit. So in terms of who buys the product and service, so yes, the people with the budget approval are the senior management leadership. Absolutely. They're typically the sponsors. They're typically the people in charge who want a result. However, they're busy. They have a massive amount of responsibility. They won't know everything. And that's just because their job is to have good team below them. So the best way to solve the problem is to understand from different perspectives, the leadership, absolutely, but then also the middle management and the people on the shop floor as well. Because what I find is that the people on the shop floor often have great insights around how we can improve the system. The middle management have the same. So our role is to really bring together all the key ideas, problems, factors from all levels. And then as a result, we can provide a better product. A great example is that, like I said earlier, the shipping inventory management. By talking to the salespeople, not the customer service agents, we found that the inventory, and talking to the inventory manufacturing team, that's when we realized that they were not able to produce the products that had been sold.
Yeah, that's a great insight to talk.
Yeah.
Make sure you're talking to all levels. And then let's talk about sort of the future. What are your goals with your company? Where are you looking to go in the next, 3, 5, 10 years?
Oh, yeah, it's exciting. I'm a big fan of the Peter Drucker quote of best way to to define the future is to create it, as in you need to have a path towards it, because there's so much going on with new AI, new technology. There's environment concerns. There's lots of change happening in politics with elections for North America, plus many other countries over the next few years. The economy is very up and down right now. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So at the end of the day, we can only be responsible for what we can control. So in terms of my own business, it's continuing to serve companies and grow the business and build out more enterprise solutions, get a couple of more product offerings out there, and enjoy the journey as well. It's at the end of the day, it's all around making sure I'm learning every day, but more importantly, sharing that learning with others at the same time, because I'm at a point in my career where I can learn by sharing the learning. So when I share information with other people, they'll give me feedback. I learn from that, and then it's a really good cycle of ongoing learning. So yep, that journey of growth is definitely there, and ultimately getting to empire builders, building a company and a series of companies. But I want to focus on the one company first.
Yeah, that's great, and that's an exciting outlook for the future, and I'm excited to follow along. And to your point about teaching what you know as the best way to learn, definitely, I've learned from this conversation. So thank you for that. And yeah, that's definitely,
and reading as well. Reading books. I read a lot as a teenager and then early adult, but I read a lot of fiction. And in the last 5-10 years, I've really spent a lot of time reading nonfiction, the business management books, even just personal development books, and I want to get more in spirituality to understand my spirituality. But reading every day is key. I don't do this. I need to, but one of the challenges we have in our current coaching program is just reading 10 pages every day of a nonfiction book. And as easy as that sounds, you have to make time to do it. And I found doing that has just grown me as a person and helped my team and help my clients.
Yeah, and yeah, same here. And I'm all about the Audible, so always listening.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, yep. that makes it easy to consume. Yeah, yes. Definitely. Yeah, on the same page there. That there's so much to learn just from reading. Yeah, I'm also interested in what you mentioned. Growing your spirituality. Do you have any titles? In your wish list? Because
yeah, this is early in my journey, so I'm watching a lot of Joe Dispenza videos right now in terms of the connection between mind, body, and spirit, and understanding how our mindset really adjusts our health. I'm very, very early in this journey, so I'm watching a lot of him. I mean, I like a lot of Lewis Howes and the School of Greatness. He has a lot of Joe Dispenza videos on there, but he also has some other spiritualists on there. Jay Shetty is another one I've followed a lot. So I'm spending more time on that, plus meditation. I'm making more and more time to meditate. Not doing it every day, but I want to. And even if it's just, what I've learned is, even if it's just 5-10 minutes, it's just getting that mindset back down to the rest and digest state, so you can make better decisions. Because if we're always rushing from meeting to meeting in that fight or flight mode, we just don't make as good decisions because we're in that fight or flight mode. So we owe it to ourselves to calm down, reset, get into that rest and digest, lower heart rate, better breathing. And then as a result, we make better decisions for ourselves and everyone else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Super important. Activate the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe I'll send, I'm in a couple meditation groups because I'm really into it that are local. So yeah, I can send you an invite if you want to come out to one.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, for sure. Love that. We actually did last year. We did a walking meditation around one of the parks down South Calgary. So we turned up at 7 o'clock in the morning. We all had the same YouTube video, and this was actually global. So across the world, everyone played this one YouTube video at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we all had our headphones on. And we just, I think it was 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. But yeah, we walked around the park, and it was a walk a bit, then you stop, meditate, walk a bit more. And so we did this in a public park in Calgary just last year. And that was an amazing experience.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, I'll have to check that out for next time too. And if I can give you one book recommendation, I had a video on this. It was the only book that Steve Jobs had on his iPad, and then he also gave it at his funeral, at the memorial service. Everybody in attendance got a copy of this book on their way out, which was, it was a lot of big names there. The book is Autobiography of a Yogi, which is by a yogi who came from India to the States in the 20s, and shared that teaching. But it's highly recommend. Very good book.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks.
Yeah. But otherwise we can get wrapped up. So thanks so much for coming on, John. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, for sure. We covered a lot of ground. So, and as always, if anyone wants to reach out, chat more, check me out on LinkedIn. I post pretty every day on some insights around technology, and plus my own business journey as well. I like to share my journey. I do a monthly scorecard, holding myself accountable on the basis that it helps others. And also check out, like I said, the technology dashboard assessment for understanding where your current state is with your business growth, and that free assessment, which will give you some tips and tricks you can do to unlock some inefficiencies in your business.
Absolutely. Thanks for putting that out there for that free assessment. So we'll definitely have that in the show notes. And thanks again for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, you too, Nick. Yeah, this has been awesome. Chat soon.
Okay, thanks.